So good morning. This is second grade from Park School, and it's January 2022. Second grade got together. We read many books about Martin Luther King, some that were written by prior students, some as far back as 12 years ago. We also watched some videos. The kids were fascinated with the black and white video and how different things looked. And I keep reminding them that those videos were taken when I was alive. So things have really changed. We learned a lot, and the kids wrote their own pieces, and I'm very proud of their work.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a biography written and illustrated by second grade Park School, 2022 January. Dr. King is most famous for his I Have a Dream speech. Millions upon millions of people have heard and learned his speech. MLK was a very kind man and was against segregation. He was passionate about changing unfair laws. He got arrested around 30 times because of this. Martin traveled around the South spreading his message for equal rights. He is now talked about yearly in school. Martin's Childhood, written and illustrated by Anthony Domino. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929. He lived in a large house on Auburn Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia, with his brother, sister, and parents. This house was 3 blocks away from the Ebenezer Baptist Church, where his father was the minister and his mother led the choir. Growing up, Martin's best friend was a white child. One day, when he wanted to go play with him after school, he let Martin know that he could no longer play with him because he was black. Becoming a Minister. Becoming a Minister, written and illustrated by Parker Brown. Martin was a great student. He even learned to read before he was old enough for school. He earned his doctorate, so he was called Dr. King. Growing up, Martin, Dad, and Grandpa were both ministers. This meant religion, and the church were important to him. The church was Ebenezer Baptist Church. He quickly decided to be a minister. MLK preached his first sermon at his dad's church.
Like that, and look for your words, okay?
Jim Crow laws, written and illustrated by Nita Trumper. Jim Crow laws were laws that segregated people based on the color of their skin. Black and white people were not allowed to use the same water fountains or eat at the same diners. White people had better things than black people. These laws gave white people more rights than black people. MLK tried really hard to put an end to these laws. NonViolence, written and illustrated by Maya Friel. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was in college when he learned about Mohandas Gandhi. Gandhi used words not violence to protest. He did not believe in violence. Martin was inspired by Gandhi and did the same thing. When MLK protested, he used his words for equal rights, not violence. He peacefully protested with marches, sit-ins, and other boycotts. Martin's family life, written and illustrated by Alan Tisdale. Martin was married to Coretta Scott, and they had 4 children. Their names were Yolanda, Martin Luther King III, Dexter Scott, and Bernice. Martin had to deal with a lot of threats to his family because he was against segregation and would protest it. On January 30th, 1956, MLK's house was bombed. It was bombed several times, but no one was hurt from this. Marches, written and illustrated by C.L. Fiege. MLK led big marches as a way to peacefully protest segregation. There were many marches. Some of that happened when it was cold, and people against the protesters would use fire hoses. Many people were injured. Many people were injured. In these marches, including children, Martin Luther King Jr. led a huge march all the way to the Lincoln Memorial, where he gave his famous "I Have a Dream" speech.
Sit-ins, written and illustrated by Zizu Gazelle. One way people tried to protest Jim Crow laws was by sit-ins. This is when white and black people would sit at a diner that was meant for white people only. They would sit there and not order anything. People who liked segregation would attack them by yelling at them and throwing ketchup on them. This was to get them to leave. This is one of the ways people peacefully protested.